This week, David Ware, App State Mania, 247 Sports, is wrapped up practice Appalachian State after the huge win in College Station. And David joins us, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Appalachian State's been here before. They're kind of used to this a little bit, but David, have you seen a little more uptick around Boone?
Well, the first significant thing you note is we've got College Gameday coming to campus this week, so that's not something that happens every week in Boone, North Carolina. So obviously, there's a lot more interest around the program right now, as there should be. But like you said, in all honesty, that's 7 of the last 8 games we've played against Power 5 teams where App has taken it to a one-score decision. They've won 3 of those games. I can tell you the coaches and players will tell you they should have won all 8, but I think it's just part of the expectation. It's part of the culture. You don't go into those games and luck your way into a win. You have to expect to win when you go into them, and that's the mentality around the program, and that's the only way that those things happen.
David, if A&M wins that game as everybody predicted them to, game day is probably in College Station for A&M and Miami this week, which would have been the highest ranked 2 teams playing against each other. Did App State have some sort of a bet with the Aggies that if they won, they got game day?
I don't think that was on the line. Now I tried to gin up a few bets for some Texas brisket, but nobody was taking me up on that.
I love it.
David, this is a program, double-digit wins multiple times in the last decade, much less, going back even further. This is a team that obviously has really built something. And so, again, that's why we're talking about this not being surprising and looking back to Michigan. But when did you get a sense that this team and this game, this environment in College Station, that this was a real possibility?
Well, let's be honest about it. We opened week 1 playing University of North Carolina here in Boone. And it was in terms of excitement, it was off the charts. UNC won the game 63-61. We had a 2-point conversion, actually a couple of them late in the game that would have either potentially won the game or tied it. Neither of those worked out. And anytime you give up 63 points, immediately start questioning, okay, where are we defensively? That's a logical and reasonable question to ask. And, I think coming into College Station, it was an unanswered question. If you had told me we would have held Texas A&M to less than 200 yards and 14 points on the day, 7 of which, of course, came on a kickoff return, I'm not sure I would have wagered with you on that. But that's just kind of the way App State does things. When it's time to step up, when it's time to put up, they do it. And I will say this: I had the unique perspective on Saturday. For road games, I actually join App State's radio broadcast, and I'm reporting from the sidelines for those games. So I was on the field for the entire game. And, when we got to halftime, it was a tight game. I just felt like there was a real calmness, a real confidence on App State's sideline, even when Texas A&M had the big kickoff return and you felt like, oh, wow, that could be a momentum swing. It never shook the guys on the sideline, not the staff, not the players, anybody. And, I think probably midway through the third quarter, it just felt like we started physically taking control of that game, which I know seems unbelievable given what Texas A&M is able to recruit. But, I think at that point it became more about mentality than physicality.
I saw that, and I wasn't
it was obvious. They were definitely the more physical, better team.
When the game was on the line to run it out, and they just pounded the ball, and A&M was mentally and physically just shot a team that knew that they had more than they could handle.
Well, again, it's just a matter of culture, and I think one of the things I would note about Texas A&M is they're incredibly, incredibly talented. You see it on the field. But there are some younger guys out there. They've got some first and second year guys that play key roles there. And App State has a veteran team. And again, they went into that game really expecting to win. I mean, everybody says they expect to win. But App State means it. They really expected to win that game. And, I think that belief is a lot of what carried them. But, it was a phenomenal thing. It was really cool to be at field level, to experience it, to experience the physicality both ways. You appreciate the size the ability that Texas A&M has, and it's exciting if you're on the App State side of the fence to see the team go out and perform against just really phenomenal talent on the other side.
David Ware, App State Mania 247 Sports on the win in College Station against what was then top 10 ranked Texas A&M.
What do you think game day wise the students and everybody is looking forward to the most in Boone?
It's hard to say. I think just just knowing that the college football world, for that 3 hours, that's the thing. My wife works in advertising and she does a lot of media analysis. She said, those guys average 2 million viewers per episode on ESPN. Other than the games themselves, game day is the biggest thing that they do. So, I think just knowing that the college football world from 9 to 12 Eastern on Saturday is going to be zeroed in on Boone, North Carolina is a huge thing. This is a small town. The college really is the town. Just to have yourself on that stage being talked about, Marty Smith was here today, was doing some stuff with our head coach, did some stuff around town, around campus. It's just, it's a significant thing. And I think it's really exciting for any program. We're starting to really kind of erase the lines between Power 5 and Group of 5, I think. But, if you're one of those non-power conference teams and programs, it makes you realize that the opportunities are there. You just have to be committed to them and go out and get them. But, I have no doubt that our students will not only be incredibly jacked up for the entirety of the show, but probably well lubricated even at 9 a.m.
No, that's a great point about, the other programs that aren't necessarily Alabama hosting game day every other week, it feels like, or those typical matchups. That's very cool that App's getting to experience that. And I know the magic that was kind of created here when game day visited a couple times, you start to see the set go up and there's just a different buzz about town that's very cool. Now, App has been in the Sun Belt for almost a decade now at this point, but obviously it was a huge weekend for the conference. What do you make of the Sun Belt as it continues to evolve, the new teams that have come in, and the chase to go towards more of what seemingly big college football is going away from, which is geography, location, regional rivalries, and things of that nature?
Well, I think in the Sun Belt's case, look, it was very good timing. It was good fortune. I won't necessarily wish harm on other conferences, but Conference USA kind of disintegrating really helped the Sun Belt. And, in truth, we're not programs that have infinite money available. Funding is always a little bit of a challenge, and being able to control travel costs, being able to control the time out of class for your students, all of those things played into it. So a lot of what the Sun Belt did, they did out of really necessity from a financial standpoint. But I think it does make a lot of sense. And, App State went from literally being the northern outpost of the Sun Belt Conference to now being the hub of the Eastern Division. So it's really great, especially for App. But, I think the entire conference benefits because there are genuinely good programs there. That's what this weekend was 3. You had ODU knocking off Virginia Tech in week 1. So there are 4 Power 5 victories already in the first 2 weeks. So, I think that's a testament to the kind of football we're playing, but it's also really a healthier thing for the athletic programs, not just football, but, the rest of the sports as well, because it cuts down on travel. It gives your fans a chance to be more a part of those games. And, I think it's good all the way around. And I think some of it was good fortune, good timing, but some of it was also good planning. We knew, in the Sun Belt, I think everyone knew what they had to do, needed to do, and they've gone out and constructed a league that's not only highly competitive, but also, brings that regional rivalry feel to things, which is, such a huge part of sports. At least it always has been.
Without looking ahead, who else do they have already lined up for future games that were against Power 5 schools? Do you know?
Yeah, well, in 2024, we travel to Clemson. In 2025, I think it's 2025, 2026, We recently announced the home and home series with North Carolina State. When you start going out a little further than that, I know that there was a future date we were working out with South Carolina, but beyond that, it starts to get a little thinner in terms of what's already scheduled. And I think one of the concerns you have if you're not in a Power 5 conference is as these mega conferences continue to develop. One of the things I think you're going to see a lot of these leagues eliminate an out of conference game. They're going to go to like a 9-3 instead of an 8-4. And when those things happen and you're not in the power group, you start to worry about how much availability there's going to be in the future for Power 5 opponents, because they're not going to worry about strength of schedule outside of their conference calendar. So, we'll just have to kind of see how things go. But there are a handful of games lined up over the next 4 to 5 years.
I think everybody should block the AD's phone number from Appalachian State. They should not take his calls. It's dangerous. It's spam. Don't do it. It's fun. I love what they're doing. David, great stuff. And it was great you were right there in the middle of all that massive stadium with an incredible crowd and a huge win for Appalachian State, but they're used to it, as we've mentioned, and you did as well. Thanks for your time.
Absolutely. Great being with you guys.
David Ware, 247 Sports, covers Appalachian State for App State Mania. And they